so far.
Wait. If you're gonna apologize to me, let me hit my record button first.
Jay, no. You're gonna really be hard pressed here, fam. You're not really mild mannered. No offense.
Yeah, because I think it's important to understand that we can have different opinions on
ideologies and things. It's like how one state has communism and the other one has capitalism. So people have different ideologies, and that's perfectly fine.
All right, but okay, now let's keep something in mind, right? Now, this is something I've said before on my YouTube channel. For context's sake, you guys have watched at least a couple of my videos, right?
I've watched every single one from beginning to end.
I am honored. Thank you. I'm amazed that you've put that much time into my long, windy rants.
45-minute rant.
Yeah, like the most previous one I watched was literally like 49 minutes. I was like, oh fuck. Oh god.
Well,
oh fuck.
It's also fun whenever I see myself in there.
I think I think the name was like literally Discord Wars, the TCC, the GSC, and the folly of game democracies.
Right.
Wait,
Well, the most recent one, actually.
Because not a lot of people use that word correctly.
The folly. All right. Yeah. Well, I do have to admit to some of my own follies. I mean, if I criticize other people's groups, or if I criticize other people's, activities and games, generally it's because they're mistakes that I've seen made before, or mistakes that I've personally made before.
Oh, trust.
So
seriously, like me, K-Mink, and Shaylink have all seen these mistakes happen before, and that's why like we've come together and we're trying our best to not repeat those mistakes that we've seen repeated in the past. And we understand that it's really hard to run a democracy in games since people aren't literally tied down to a group. And that's the biggest difficulty is, right? People aren't tied down. They don't have an obligation to be there, and so when they get bored, they can just leave. And so I understand how it's hard to run a democracy like that, but we take into account many different contingency plans in our democracy. Like one being, we aren't a full democracy, right? We're like a mixed democracy.
The way you've got it set up is you've got your 5 electors, who are basically your failsafe. In other words, really, you haven't taken your hands off the switch. You can use your electors to just handle it if something goes wrong, right? Which
we will never take our hands off the switch, and that's the point of it, right? Like seriously, like I agree with
but
you. But
wait,
points in your video.
The way a republic is supposed to work is that the founders of the republic are able to take their hands off the switch and pass the thing on to elected.
I'm not sure what Christian's point of view on it, but I set it up specifically so I could leave at some point.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
So the thing is, right? K-Mink founded the group, and technically, by your terms, we are a republic because he's taken his hands off, right? But the way that we have our constitution is right now, right? The way we have our constitution is right now is that we have 2 bodies that are completely permanent fixtured in our democracy.
Okay, now I understand that you've got a bicameral system. Now remember something that I said about that document. I read your constitution, all 7 goddamn pages and 83 paragraphs. I read it. All right, I know it's in it, and I've written constitutions myself before. And by the way, I have had formal training in the subject of managing governments, like actual government.
How did you like it? How do you like our collaboration of like 5 different types of government?
It's actually okay.
Ignoring the game aspect of it. Like,
yeah,
if it was
just like how did you like it?
If you guys were like trying to actually operate some sort of a nation off of that document, and you were using that as your foundational document for how you run some sort of a republic. Like, let's say you had some island republic out there in the Pacific somewhere, and this was your actual constitution for running an actual real world government, it probably would work just fine. It probably would be just fine. No, that's what I'm saying, right? It's
major constitutional crisis.
If you're taking, I read it. I didn't see anything particularly wrong with it. particularly. You know, there are some obvious conveniences that you built into it for the sake of it being a gaming community, which you'd have to alter that a little bit. You know, if any two citizens can vouch for somebody and they're suddenly a citizen, that might be a bad.
Well, we changed that. We would change that.
Did you actually change that? Did you change that because of the video?
If it was really like that, we would change it. But,
Okay, fair enough. Right, but what you've got there, right? But wait. Okay, so what you've got is a very competently written constitution for the purposes of operating what would be a real world government, right? So if you
also sat down and read for many years, just many different forms of government structures. I've studied them repeatedly. So
well, there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. I have not put that deep a study into government structures, nor into constitutional law in particular, but I have been trained in statecraft and in the actions of actually operating things like a state or city level government. Like I've gone through formal training on that subject.
It's very difficult to balance things because as soon as you do something wrong, there's no fixing it. So you have to play everything out in your head before it goes in.
Fine.
That's why it's like that.
Yeah, we've had many different scenarios thought out.
Fine, but hang on. But hang the fuck on, all right?
Yeah.
What you've done, right, is, like, I'll say it again. I've said it 3 times already since I started this recording. You have written a constitution that is just fine for the purposes of operating an actual government, but you're not operating an actual government. You're talking about a game group. There is a
built in the conveniences that we have.
Sure, and the conveniences make sense, but
that's why we took an extra step of like being founded in like firm. Like we have that representative side. We have that democratic portion of our government, right? But the way that we've handled it is so like we gave extra power to our judiciary, right? So our judiciary, that part of the government, will always be there and will always have the ability to balance out the instability that the democracy gives us.
Right.
So
okay, and I would file that under the game-like conveniences that you've built into it, and you're at least you are nodding to the fact that you're talking about a game group. So I give you credit for that at least. However, there's something you have to understand. Okay, so what fundamentally, what is a government? What does a government what does a government do?
So I'm going to go off John Locke's opinion, right? A government is, in order for a government to have any power, it has to first be recognized by the people. And in order to be recognized by the people, there is a contract, which is our constitution. That contract, it has only has power if people recognize it. And the reason why...
Well, that's very convenient if you're American, you can believe that, because that's the way that the United States is supposed to operate. But you know, but that isn't at all the way your average banana republic operates, you know?
I know, like there are many different forms of there are many different ideologies of how governments work. Like
well, let's boil it down.
There's the traditional aspect of like the anarchical the anarchy of man. Sorry.
Okay.
Hold up, Christian. But I think because I've heard Mr. Keene say what his view on what a government is, which is to protect the people, right? Is that essentially?
I wouldn't even necessarily say that, because that isn't something that is common to governments. Not all governments operate that way. Okay.
I believe what you have said is a government holds a monopoly on violence.
Absolutely.
That's the one.
That is actually fundamentally the definition of it. You're talking about an entity which is empowered either through conquest or divine right or by a contract with the people, ideally by a contract with the people, right? But a government is intended, What a government does is it holds a monopoly on violence. It holds a monopoly on the ability to coerce people into whatever pattern it finds convenient, right? Or whatever pattern it finds correct.
Like, just a straight off topic, that gets really into the psyche of like humans, like in general, because humans respond a lot better, a lot more effectively to fear.
Well,
I-
not even necessarily fear, but authority. Authority backed
Yeah.
literally by force.
Well,
Exactly.
hold
and
up,
force
because
is used
I
to
don't
create fear.
necessarily agree with that.
Well, that's
that
how every country works.
Oh, well, I mean,
No,
can
no,
you
no, no,
can
no,
you
hold on,
can you give me an
explain. Yeah, let me give you an example of what government should be, as opposed to what um what kind of happens with government and leadership. And really, the idea of government and leadership is not to be the one in charge, but it is to look after those who are in your charge. That's really what government should be about. Like,
So, are you gonna?
you're not there to
Well,
be like, hey, I'm going to make sure you do this, 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 and be perfect with it. It should be about, I'm taking care of the people that are following me, and I'm looking after their needs, and I'm helping them along the way. And if they have any questions or
okay.
anything like that, that's really where we want to be.
I hear exactly what you're saying, and I don't entirely disagree with you. In fact, I think that your ideal government would work that way. But would you kindly please walk over to the People's Republic of China and tell them
Yes.
that that's the way that their government ought to work, and maybe
So-
advise
Yeah.
them not to go stomp on Hong Kong like they're about to do.
So this is actually this is where me and Shay get into like the
But again,
the
wait,
topic.
we're making a mistake here. We're making a fundamental mistake because we're conflating real world realities with a game world, a game world.
But we actually you yourself said that we did take that into account, and the way that we took it into account is the gives and that we've given our government structure. So the gives that we've given like to our judiciary, as I said, and the way that we handle that is we did take into account that we ourselves are not real life. Like, people can just up and vanish, and we have no one to fill that office. And so we have those contingency plans for a reason, because we did take into account that, yes, while we want to maintain as much realism as possible in our government, we also need to take into account that, yes, this is an artificial world, and people will not behave like it is real life.
Well,
Because
also you're dealing with a game world where you're dealing with a game world. The way a game world works is it empowers individuals, right? An individual player is ridiculously empowered by that's how a game works, right? So an individual is then you can't really coerce that individual, right?
Mhm.
You can
you're right.
kill him and then he's going to respawn elsewhere and do whatever the fuck he wants, right? So where's the where does rule of law have any
Where's the
relevance to
authority?
any? Yeah.
Where's our authority? So our authority is like, so a big thing of like our group, right? How should I explain this? So we don't have our House of Commons yet elected, and this is for a discussion for them, because ultimately the Provisionary Council was something that was to get our group up and running. We have a Crimes and Sentencing Act, which has our punishments and everything. I haven't really read up on it yet, but Shailene knows everything about it. Well, I'm just here as the Electoral Commission.
All right. Well, no. This is okay. Wait. This is the critical point.
The big question, not the small little bits and pieces. But here's the thing. Look, we want when it comes to the function of the government in the republic, as well as how we enforce those functions. Really, honestly, there's only two real ways of enforcing any sort of law, and that's either one, technically kind of exile from the republic, right? You're like, okay, and that's
the
how
benefits
any
that we
group
give
does
you are
it, right?
taken away.
That's how any group does it. It's like, okay, you don't want to appeal to, you don't want to follow our rules, then you can't essentially be in our group.
You can't have the benefits of being in our group. That's
and that's
yeah.
and that's what you see with any faction, right? Like that's your general one. If it's smaller things like you know
Petty crime and things like that.
yeah, like someone maybe not bad mouthing, but like stealing something from someone, then we can be like, hey, if if that something like that happens, we work it out between the parties, and if we come to a conclusion, they either follow that conclusion or they're like, okay, again, if you don't want to follow our rules, you're out of the Republic. It's like any faction or group. That's not something that's different between any other group.
True.
You know.
Yeah, and it's also how like prison works too.
Well-
So I understand this is probably like confusing since I said it, but prison there is to take someone out of a society and punish them. And since they're out of that society, they no longer have the benefits of that freedom, of that of the way that they were living. And that's essentially what we create here. But instead of prison, it's exile.
Yeah, and when it comes to
Wait. So wait.
when it comes to the roles in the Republic, like,
So
that's why we have all
so
these
your
roles.
your ultimate punishment for not being part of the
Our
not
supreme punishment is exile.
is exile, right? But
Yeah, that's our capital. That's our capital.
Isn't that your supreme punishment though as well, King?
well,
In the Hubberman?
yeah.
Yeah, and that's the point. Like in a group to where we have no life, like we can respawn all the time. Our authority is our group itself, and the group itself is if you can provide the benefits of what you do. And so our benefit is a nice government to where everybody has a say in it, as well as the stability that we created for it. Our benefits are things that we can provide, our constitution and the community that we built.
Yeah, and on a side note, Keen, you love people being able to do something, right? Like actually, like going out playing games or doing a part of actually.
Well,
going
yeah,
out
that,
and
and I
like
tend to
that.
reward people with responsibility
Yeah.
when they take initiative.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
and part of why we have these, I guess, ministries and things like that is
Can I
to
cut in real quick?
facilitate that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah,
so,
go.
So the way that we do that, since you're not a democracy, like the way that we do that is
Well,
so people
to be
who do
fair-
good in the group will earn clout. You know, like clout, like this happens every day in like society. You know, people who do good have good clout. You know, people have good reputations, and then through that they can go through and apply to be a candidate for an election, and then through that election they can get into the means of they can be influential in how our group runs, and we have ministries, right, that are run through by the House of State, and the House of State basically is how you would be better at explaining this, K-Make.
Computer.
Yeah, computer. I broke.
Yeah, no. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, essentially we have ministries where
Yeah,
people who want to be in that kind of say you really love to do shipbuilding, right? And that's the thing that you want to do in game, and you want to you could either join one of the groups within the Republic that are doing that, but for someone to go out and be like, I'm going to be leading this section of people that are going to do something, it's not just at the whims of a single person, and I think that's better for the community. Like the people that are there are the ones that really should be picking, because
Well-
as a single person, I can't be like, okay, I'm going to put like a guy called Legaseth in charge of this one particular thing, because I might not know stuff about Legaseth that other people, everyone else in the community knows, and that's kind of like my bias playing into effect there. What this does is a check and balance on, the leaders that are leading are the ones that people want to lead.
Well, okay. And I suppose the difference then between your group and the Harbormen, because I've got a 3-division plan for the Harbormen, right? And each division has got sort of a basic default plan of a game plan, right? Which dovetails and so forth. It kind of works out on a grid. You can grid it out, and it's about 12 words on a page. It's about how simple it is. But I assign an officer over each division, all right?
You
And-
have the same kind of deal going on with their ministry.
Right,
They
but you're
have
like
the head
you're
office
electing
and
those
group
people into
head.
position, and I'm
They
appointing
are
them.
Technically, we don't elect
No.
ministers.
Oh.
So
We don't elect
ministers are appointed by a Grand Premier, and the Grand Premier is elected by the House of State, and the House of State is then elected by the
Citizens.
the citizens.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the representative democracy tiered system, essentially.
Okay. Well, I mean, all right. So you're trading a leader and a handful of officers for a bunch of elected and appointed positions in jeez, it just it seems to me that I would have to see this thing in action. You know what? If you guys really are, I'll tell you this: if you're really determined to prove me wrong, then I would absolutely invite you to do so. I absolutely invite you to prove me really, really wrong on this thing, because I see it kind of collapsing out of sheer
willpower to make it work.
It seems top heavy. Well, look, if you're talking about
I
it,
get what you're saying, King, and I think it's important to like, because I watched your latest video and I was like, okay, I now understand where you're coming from in that perspective with the whole free harbor. I'm sorry, free port.
Correction, earlier, earlier when I was talking about the Grand Premier electing the ministers, it's actually the state House of State that does that, and then the Grand Premier is our executive.
Yeah, it's not like we don't have to go into the nitty gritty of it here, but
yeah, I just messed
essentially
up. I wanted to fix
like. Well, yeah, no, I think in the end, you see it as something that's doomed to fail, which I don't agree with, but like I can understand why you have that that position.
I will concede that it is not doomed to fail. Now, if you watch my original video on the Republic, you will see the conversations that I had that led me to the conclusion that I made, right?
Okay.
And I think that if you follow those conversations, you'll get the idea that I've seen and done what works in the field of leadership of game groups, right? It tends to be a very simple driven thing. Tandy, I'm getting a little bit of feedback from your mic there.
Yeah, Shay. Shay, you unmuted yourself.
There we go.
Shut the fuck up. There you
go. But yeah, no. I mean, look, if you really want sort of a breakdown of just how you do this thing, right? You have a goal in mind. You have something you want to achieve, right? You figure out why you want to achieve it. What ideal are you serving? What's the flavor of this thing? It could be something as simple as, you just want. Who is this dude? Can we get him out of here?
The goal that we have, and I think that
the goal is to serve the computer. Is that what he said? No, this is going up completely unedited. I never edit any of my shit.
Error 404. What up, Error 404.
And I think it was good you talking about how we didn't have well explained goals, and I think after that we actually did go back and make some well explained goals and values for the Republic that we are striving towards. So I think, at least in that perspective, I definitely agree. We had them, but we just hadn't written down.
Oh, okay.
What we wanted to do.
Yes.
We had no one say it definitively, and we finally got declared.
It's sort of like having let me use the United States, since I'm a Native American, I'm a Native American from the USA, right? Let me use the United States as an example. So the reason why the United States worked so well to begin with, since it was the first democracy of its kind, like the first representative republic in that era. The way that they got through that was, one, there was a cohesive body because there was a common culture, right? And our common culture is our ideology.
Shut the fuck up and listen to this instead.
No matter the hard I try.
I'm just gonna.
The biggest thing that is the biggest thing in having a functioning government in having a functioning group that everybody listens to is a cohesive culture, a cohesive ideal, and a cohesive image of oneself. And what we're trying to create here is not only government but also a community. And through that community, we will have the authority to have these punishments and to have like a working government, if that makes sense.
Okay, but you keep in mind you're dealing with a game world in which players are individually kind of super empowered, right? Where it's not really possible for you to have a monopoly on force, where it's not possible to your game government. It is not possible for your game government to be backed. You aren't backed by the same things that a real world government can be backed by.
We took that into account. We definitely took that into account.
Fair enough.
Our government, the way that we backed our government is through influence and community.
Yeah.
So what you're
belonging is a powerful factor.
I can kind of understand that. So, but you're relying on that alone. You're relying on that alone. It's just the social pressure of the desire to be part of the community, right? Which means, by the way, you're going to have some system in place for keeping that community desirable, right? You're going to have that community be of such good quality.
And that is where our government comes into play. Like when we
I would hope. I mean,
when we can provide benefits for our citizens, we can provide the cohesiveness of like having like camaraderie, like things like game nights, things like competitions, things like that.
Yeah.
That's where we get our influence.
Hold on. I think what you're talking about is that you were talking about how to properly enforce something with influence alone, and we have methods to do that. We have the Electoral Commission, which has the sole duty of appointing the the Senate alone. They are the only ones that can do that. We have the Supreme Court, which checks what the House of Commons and stuff does. We have the Grand Premier that then enforces those laws. We have checks.
You're talking about You're talking about a system for maintaining the quality of your community. Yeah. I get it.
He's asking.
Fine.
He's asking like why people would stay.
Right. So this is. And let me expand on that. Because this is actually a very, very important point. If you want this thing to work, this has got to work this way, right? And I think it's good to take from a recent example of a game that failed because Dual Universe hasn't gotten off the ground. It hasn't had a chance to fail yet. No, I'm talking about.
Failed. It's actually still really good.
No, I'm talking about Worlds Adrift. Oh, boy. Now, if you watched, right?
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about Worlds. Right. We don't go to Ravenholm. We don't go to Ravenholm. No, listen. No. This is like basic economics here, right? What Bossa Studios failed to do was to maintain the quality of their product. Their product degraded and became undesirable. And then
and so like the way that
I wouldn't even blame it on Join or Die. I would not even blame it on Join or Die. I would actually blame it on it was development failures, and actually probably it was a failure of the developers to handle cheating and other very, very important quality control issues.
A failure of them being responsive.
I agree.
If the product degrades, the users and the buyers go away, right?
Yeah.
You're not selling, but you're not selling a game. You're selling a community, right?
Exactly.
And what people are paying into that community are their interest and their care, right? You have to have your players give a shit about it enough to actually put up with it being this kind of top-heavy democracy, right? Yeah. Which is something to put up with. Some players are going to have to kind of grit their teeth through it. But if the community is of high enough quality, and if you're offering enough to your players in terms of the value of your community itself, then you could keep them,
That's what we do.
And-
we try
and-
to
And that's what
live
we've been
everyday
doing.
citizens.
And there's another key criticism that I mentioned in my original video when I was talking about the Republic. This is my second recent video from like 7 or 8 days ago.
Hold up, 1 second.
You know, the one with the oof thing on the card.
Yes.
That was the video, right? Now,
We now have that as a. Oh, sorry, go.
is that like a meme now in the Republic?
Yes, it is.
Right. Well, okay. Now you cannot ever rely on a system to do what a leader can do, right?
100%.
A leader can talk to people. He can listen. Critically, he can listen. He can care about people on an individual basis and understand them, right?
Also,
can-
but that's the beauty of a democracy, right? Because these people will naturally come out of the footwork to run for the House of Commons and
Well,
the
y-
House
y-
of State. And
hopefully, I
to
mean-
run to be Grand Premier, and that's the point. That's the point because we have elections, and through those elections, we weed out the
Okay.
people who would not make it.
The problem with elections in any video game isn't that you can't get an election run. I can set up a straw poll and get an election
already
run
did.
pretty quick.
Yeah, we already
It's
have one
really
on
hard to
Google Docs.
people invest in that. For the first month, it's not too bad. Give it 2 months, you start getting pretty spotty votes. Give it 6 months. I remember having a vote that we ran for a week in the FSC, which is a pretty invested community.
Mm-hmm.
It took a week for a poll to go through. And even then,
can I
people were like,
explain
"Oh, I didn't see it. I need to vote on it still."
Right. People mute the announcement channels. You know.
Can
Yeah.
I explain something, right? So the way that we get around this, right, is like I understand that that is a problem, right? And as like the chairman of the Electoral Commission, I have looked at this thoroughly. Like I have taken it into account. And the way that I see it, right, is in the United States, as a politically charged country as we are, we still have a 50% voting rate for people, for our citizens, and that's insane. Like other countries, how should I put this? Other countries, may have a better one. Australia, Australia may have a better percentage of votes, but it's still, you're gonna have that a big portion of our government or of our citizenry that may not vote. That is a big possibility. And the way that we get around this is like, one, we have votes every 6 months, so it's not like they don't happen slowly. Like they happen. Like just wait a little bit and they'll happen. Number two is we still recognize any election that we have, and we still recognize that yes, while there may be like 50 or 60 people that voted in this past election, we're still going to recognize that because ultimately, since you did not vote, you do not voice your opinion, and that's my big belief about it. You do not voice your opinion, and so you chose not to take part in this vote. And so when something happens, and since you don't want to lose your the benefits that comes with the community, what happens is next election you will vote because you realize that, hey, I didn't voice my opinion and this happened, and now I want to voice my opinion now. That's how we get around it.
I would say
We
that is a
also
very
want it-
pretty theory.
We also
Um,
want to make it as simple as possible.
We'll
We
see
make
how
it
it works
as
in
simple.
we'll see how it works in in implementation.
Okay,
But
well-
hopefully if I'm right, it does work like that.
I still think that I still think that your critical problem, if you really want to run it like a democracy, and if you really want to maintain a situation where you've got your players engaged and interested, right? You're gonna have to sell them a community, right? You're buying what you're getting from them, right? The currency that you're getting from them is their interest and their cooperation, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which in
You
turn
also-
increases the quality of the community,
you
right?
also think of communities as products and as things you can sell to people, not as communities of the same where they want to be there and they want to make something.
But
from
that's the product though.
There's,
They sell
there
the product
is
and they
too-
want to be
there's
there.
There's different ways of us thinking about everything we do. You think of communities and
He's talking in terms of economics, Shay.
yes, well we
And in terms of economics, there's only black and
So-
white. There's only
Yeah,
black and
I-
white.
Well, that's what I talk about, man. I talk about the practicalities of things. I talk about, you know, I talk about force. I talk about action. I talk about, like, you know, what are you really offering and what are you getting in return, and like, you know, I try to bring these things right down to the ground level of
And
practicality.
I 100% agree with you that the community needs to be good for anyone to be wanting to stay and to join. And we've got that great community, and I think in part has to do with the people that kind of want to do these little bit more complex systems are joining us, and they're the ones who are really invested in the process, and they're finding it fun, they're finding it enjoyable. You know, like we're
Well-
not saying that everyone needs to do it this way. We're not saying that, you know, all these people are like, okay, this, you know, you kind of have to do it exactly this way or that way. We're saying, look,
I will say this. I will say this. If they weren't scared off by that video that I made, then you're doing pretty well.
Most of the community was empowered, actually.
actually, yeah, we got really.
Okay, well,
I think you've
well,
actually
good.
helped drive recruitment rates, if anything.
Okay, well, honestly, if that
since
if
we have since we have such a backbone of a constitution, and since it's so like it's so hard set in our society, like our online society, that people who come here can actually recognize that, hey, we have a quote unquote formal government, and we know how things work, and the people who are here are teaching the people that come into our society how this government works. Like, we openly discuss how our government works, so
It
there's
also
no
shows-
lack of communication.
And it also shows that we actually give a damn about what we're doing. You know, like
And
we're
that's-
putting all this effort. We're not going to be like jumping out 1 week into week into early access. We're not going to be like abandoning it. We're
And that's what we're
in.
trying to that's what
Yeah.
we're trying to proliferate. We're trying to proliferate a gaming community that is about this type of role play, quote unquote role play.
Well,
so, like,
I'll tell you this. I will tell you this. You have already impressed me. The fact, no, really, no. The fact that you guys didn't fall apart, right? After I made some really cutting points, right, about why what you're doing is so fragile, right?
and we realize that it's
Do-
super fragile. We
do you-
realize that everything we do
That's
is
why I
fragile,
made
and
the
so we-
bodies I did.
Did you watch? All right.
Every single one.
We got a lot of people in this channel now. Pop in, say a word. If you watched,
Introduce myself. I'm kind of a. All right, whatever.
just okay. Sorry, we don't have. I don't think we've got.
That's all right. Continue going on, please. I enjoy listening to you guys talk. I'm
Thanks.
not an asshole. I mean, I just popped on here for giggles.
Fine, but anyway.
I only read through like 15 pages of your Constitution just for fun. Holy fuck! I'm sorry.
I know.
I'm
sorry,
glad.
I
I'm
just-
glad you
I
don't
don't-
edit any of this. That he's gonna. This is cool.
I don't mean to use potty language. I'll try to stop to do that.
Are you kidding? I mean, this is the best part of this video yet.
Oh, wait, we're doing the video right now? I've been trying to get a link to this video for like the last 15 minutes.
No, you're literally.
It's okay. We're 38 minutes in. Nobody's gonna watch this. But anyway, no. All right, wait. Now, like, let me say a word, right? Okay, so who here actually watched the movie? It had Russell Crowe in it, Gladiator.
Oh,
I
I'm
did.
not.
Russell Crowe, Gladiator. You guys watched that?
It was.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not.
such a classic.
Right. Do you remember that thing that Marcus Aurelius said in there? Marcus.
Nope.
Just so you guys know, I know you guys probably have computer like muted, but he's doing a rendition of the Bohemian Rhapsody in the background. It's fucking awesome.
Wait, is he really? Oh my
Marcus?
God, he is.
Sorry. Go on, Keith. What was the Marcus Aurelius?
You're right. I unmuted him for a second, and he. Honestly, I don't know what he's doing, but I don't want to know. Okay, but anyway, moving on. So,
he ain't been right since
All right. You've derailed the hell out of my video. Now, listen. This is just a final note on this thing, right? Marcus Aurelius in that movie, and I want to hunt this down and see if Marcus Aurelius ever actually said this, but he was talking about Rome the Republic, right? Rome as a republic. the very idea of a nation that is operated and owned really by its citizens, right? And he said that.
Failed because of a loophole.
Right. Well, whatever. No, it failed. It failed because somebody got too big for their britches. Is why. No, but listen.
They exploited a loophole.
But I think he put it well in that film, and I want to actually track down. I'm going to do this now. I'm going to track down and see if he actually said anything like this. But he said that the very idea of a nation owned and operated by its own citizens, right? A government that is in service to its citizens. It was an idea that is so fragile. You barely even dared to speak of it. It was so fragile, right? It is such a thing. If you can actually hold such a thing together and make it work, I'm not saying that this is the best way to operate a group, and I wouldn't recommend it, but if you can actually do it, I will be very, very impressed. And I will say that the fact that you guys have actually rallied under all of that very, very cutting criticism that I dealt out to you guys, and the fact that you guys you've weathered that, tells me that that you've got the kind of the kind of toughness it takes to maybe actually pull it off. So I'm gonna say
Americans never hate America.
there are plenty of Americans who hate America. I've met them.
They are nationalists. Hold on. Why people never destroy the state is because we rally behind it under a banner of freedom. There is this kind of mentality that is, I belong to this.
Well, and it also belongs to us. It goes both ways. We belong to America, and America belongs to us. It's my America, damn it.
Everything where the swimsuit covers, I've got everything else you guys can.
You know.
All right. Well, I think is that a good place to maybe?
It's not really a.
Yeah, I'll.
You know,
At this point, I'll go ahead and shut off the recording. And
Well, I just want to say something quickly.
all right. Give me a final word. Make it epic.
No, I just want to say thanks for having us and that we're able to voice our opinions on your YouTube channel.
Long live the
And we'd love
Republic.
to, and at some point we'd love to have you on Republic Radio, maybe down
Yeah,
the track.
we would
There's
enjoy
Republic
that.
Radio now.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have Republic Radio. It's
as of right now.
selling this influence, as I said.
All right. All right. Good. Well,
we founded ourselves off of the freedom of everyone, so why shouldn't there be a Republic Radio?
Yeah, exactly.
Get some private business off of this bitch.
Yeah, go.
okay. Very well. Well, thank you for joining me, and thank you for for having the balls to talk to me about this. And if anybody on YouTube has actually watched all 43 minutes of this thing, congratulations, you are a trooper. You should have watched it all on at 2x speed. All right.
Subtitles.
All right.
Okay, now that that's all over, could you maybe give some of us a brief rundown who didn't catch any of it?
Oh, it's all going to be on YouTube. It's all going to be on YouTube. This entire thing.
It's only the beginning.
All right. Speaking of, end of video.